Good morning, good day. How are you doing? How is everyone doing? I am going to share the broadcast. Welcome to the channel. Welcome if you are new, welcome if you are old. We're going to continue our conflict resolution series and then be done with it. Today, we're going to finish our conflict resolution series. All right. So if you are here, go ahead and share the broadcast with someone and allow them to join in so we can finish out the week. All right. So we are focusing today on emotional intelligence. Lord help me. Emotional intelligence. Yes. I understand there were a couple of questions yesterday on our poll. So we're going to try to respond to those questions. But in the meantime, I'm going to jump in and start talking about what emotional intelligence is and how it actually impacts um, your marriage. All heard it. You know, you must have emotional intelligence. A lot of businesses, a lot of companies are teaching on emotional intelligence because all this conflict that they're seeing at work stems from the fact that workers lack emotional intelligence. So we're gonna talk about emotional intelligence, how it impacts your marriage, impacts your day-to-day life, really. Because once you become emotionally aware or emotionally intelligent, your relationships are improved. Conflict resolution is difficult for many because they haven't learned how to manage their emotions and how to manage the emotions of other people or the emotions that they get from interacting with other people. So today, I want you to come with me on this journey as we not necessarily learn something new, but really hone in on why it's important to manage your own emotions. All right. So, emotional intelligence, when we talk about emotional intelligence, we're talking about the ability to recognize, to also understand and manage our emotions. All right. The ability to manage our emotions and also the emotions of our partner. And let me show you what that really looks like on a day to day basis. When you're talking to someone, I kept mentioning how if there's a conflict and you speak to someone and the person is like, oh, please, I didn't do anything, I'm not wrong, it makes you feel like your feelings are not validated, which actually your feelings are not validated. So when you have emotional intelligence, you have what we call empathy. And empathy is the ability to genuinely understand what someone is saying. When someone comes to you, the ability to say, oh, I get what you're saying, and also allowing your partner to share their feelings, without any filters. That's empathy. That's empathy. So if you don't agree with what someone is saying, it doesn't mean you don't empathize with them. Even if you don't agree, let's say they come to you and they say, oh, you said this about me, and you're like, no, I didn't really say that, like, this is what I was saying. It's okay that you didn't say that. However, you need to validate the fact that um, they feel the way they feel. Does that make sense? So it will require you to be a good listener and to also have some level of compassion. um, to be emotionally intelligent requires you to feel for another, put your feet in their shoes, and empathize with what they're saying. So you don't discredit or you don't ignore the concerns that they bring up. Like their spouses that when you go up to them and you're talking to them, they literally just dismiss what you're saying. They completely dismiss what you're saying. They don't want to hear it. They don't care. They're like, it wasn't like that. That's not what I said. So whether you said it or didn't say it, you have to validate. Validating doesn't mean you're saying you're right. Validating means I can relate to how you said, you understood what I said. I can relate to, your feelings, and it's okay to feel what you felt. It's okay. If that's your understanding of what happened, that's your understanding. We don't say, no, I didn't say it like that, so the feelings is invalid. No, your feelings are valid. All right. So number two, when you want to resolve conflict, you need effective communication skills. Effective what? Communication skills. To be able to express your emotions and your thoughts clearly requires you to have some level of skills. For the other person to be able to express themselves, you need to put away the phone. They're nonverbal communication skills that you need to develop, i.e., putting away your phone, listening attentively. That means opening your eyes, listening, hearing, nodding your head, you know, going back and saying, okay, I hear you saying, going back and reframing. I think rephrasing or reframing to the person that this is what I hear you saying. Is that really what you're saying? That's effective communication. Actively listening means you participate. You don't just go, okay, all right. That's not active listening. That's like, all right, go ahead, say what you got to say. I don't care. And the energy can be felt. Energy that people talk about, energy is a nonverbal tool. So your energy can be felt. What you say can be heard, but your energy can speak louder than what you say. Your energy speaks a lot louder. Remember that. Nonverbal tools speak louder than verbal tools. All right. So you need to be attentive to your partner. In today's world, everybody's on their phone. Everybody's on their phone. If you continue to be on your phone like that, you won't be able to communicate with your spouse. You understand? You won't be able to communicate with your spouse. So we have to bear that in mind as well as we talk about conflict resolution. All right. Number three, you need to have some level of self awareness. There are many people that don't have any self awareness whatsoever, but you have to be able to recognize your own feelings, your own emotions. This is why we talked about triggers. Yesterday, if you didn't watch the broadcast, go back and watch the broadcast from yesterday where I talk about triggers and your reactions to things. And if your reaction is disproportionate to the actual trigger, to the event, that means you've been triggered. So go back and listen to it so that when we talk about this, you can have a full understanding. All right. So the way you feel, whether you're triggered or not, that will help you to better understand your behavior in any relationship. So with your spouse, once you identify your triggers, then you will know why you behave or react the way you react. All right. Number four, you need emotional support. Emotional intelligence requires you to have emotional support. All right. So you have to be supportive to your partner, but also you need support as an individual. But let me talk about the first part. When you're in support to your partner, you offer comfort. Like you help them manage their emotions. All right. So let me give you an example. My children, if they decide to throw a tantrum, which is very rare, but let's say my children decided to throw a tantrum. All right. It's as much as I don't want them to throw a tantrum, as much as that could be super annoying, as much as if they decided to throw a tantrum, the easiest thing is to yell and say, stop it. And da, da, da. The harder thing as a parent is to say, why do you feel the way you're feeling? It's to try to communicate with them why, like, so you're asking them why they feel the way they feel and why can they use their words instead of yelling and screaming. You're teaching them how to manage their emotions. You're teaching them to understand themselves and also teaching them to react appropriately. You see? So that's key. That's key because a lot of people don't know how to they don't know how to tell somebody else, hey, you know, the way you're reacting? Like, do you know why you're acting the way you're acting? So when your spouse is angry, you have to help them manage their emotions. They're like toddlers. Like my children. They become toddlers because they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to take in what has happened. And a lot of times too much has happened and they don't know how to handle it. So as a loving spouse, you provide comfort and let them know, hey, is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help? The natural reaction is to also get upset because we want to give people what they give us. But a lot of times, I explained that anger is a secondary emotion or feeling. So, no, emotion is rather emotion. So, with anger, when someone is angry, you have to try to get to the bottom of that anger. Like, what is making them angry? What is causing them to feel the way they feel? All right. So, that was what, number 4, right? So number 5 is you need to self-regulate. All right. There are a lot of emotions that can cause you to become very controlling, very impulsive, and can have you say mean things during an argument. And it can cause the conflict to escalate. Maybe the conflict is not even that bad, but because you kept coming back and you kept trying to throw jabs, you kept trying to say mean things, it escalates. So your job as an individual is to make sure that in conflict with your spouse, you are able to adequately listen to what they're saying. A lot of times is what wasn't said, but it's painful. Is the things that were not said. So what is it that wasn't said that has become painful to your spouse? And so by you not reacting, it gives you an edge, an edge to be tender, an edge to be loving, an edge to be caring, and to listen to what your spouse is not saying. And so you can offer comfort once you hear what your spouse is actually not saying. Are you here with me? Do you understand what I'm saying? The last thing I will give you is building trust. It's very important to build trust in any relationship. So when you have trust, you can consistently behave in a way that is congruent, in a way that is healthy and stable for your marriage. So as an individual, when you're dealing with your spouse, you don't want to ignore, dismiss, and there's another word I'm looking for, gaslight them. You don't want to gaslight your spouse. Let me explain what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is making a comment, saying something that is mean, that isn't nice, and then coming back and saying, oh no, I was just playing with you. Oh my gosh, that was just a joke. That's gaslighting. Or saying, I said that, I didn't say that. That's gaslighting. Like you light up the gas, you set the fire, and then you try to dim the fire by denying what was said or done. That is gaslighting. So you light up the gas and then you try to turn it off. Meanwhile, you're the reason why the person got to that level. You're the reason why the person got to that level. So, what did I say? Empathy, effective communication skills, self awareness, emotional support. I talked about having, I think, emotional support, regulating yourself. Regulating yourself was number 5. And then 6 is building trust. And the way your spouse can trust you is the way you respond to them. When children, the reason a lot of children misbehave in school is because they're safe in school. Did you hear what I said? A lot of children misbehave in school because they're safe in school. They know that school will not beat them, so they misbehave in school. The children need a place to lean. They need a place to fall. Every child needs a place they can fall. That means a place they can be themselves. Children usually physically fall when they're themselves. They jump up the steps and they're being themselves, they fall. And so on an emotional side, children need a place of safety. before they can express themselves. So a lot of times they will say, oh, this kid is bad in school. No, this kid is safe at school. So when I used to be a CPS worker, when I used to investigate child abuse cases, if I went to a home and I saw a 2-year-old that was seated like this, I know that 2-year-old could potentially be being abused, whether physically, emotionally, however else. And a lot of children that don't talk, I can also recognize that sometimes it's because of abuse that they're not talking, especially when they're in a domestically violent home. The children, they lose their speech. All right. So it's very important that you build trust for your spouse, because just like children misbehave when they're safe because they want to be themselves, they want to fall. Your spouse also wants to fall. They're not going to always be strong. There are times they're going to cry. There are times they're going to feel so low that they will go off and show some level of anger. But the anger is not necessarily directed at you. They're projecting it on you, but they may not be angry at you per se. So this is where you step in and show love. You see, when the Bible says love covers a multitude of sin, it's because love, when love shows up, it absorbs a lot of evil. Love shows up, it absorbs a lot of negative emotions. Love absorbs a lot of negative emotions. So the emotions that are coming out are not emotions that your spouse even wants to give out. I promise you, your children don't want to act out. Your children don't want to throw a tantrum, but they don't know how to express and talk about what is bothering them. And then when you ask them, it's something so small. You're like, you couldn't tell me this. You have to cry. You couldn't tell me this, because they just don't know how to. And a lot of them, they're afraid. If I tell mommy how I'm feeling, or I tell mommy what I want, she's going to go off. And so they don't. If they have trust, they will tell you. If they trust you, they will fall. If they're so, allow your spouse room. Do you hear what I'm saying? So don't automatically say, oh, my spouse is this and my spouse is that, and they're mad at me. They came in, they didn't say hi. So because they didn't say hi, you too, you don't want to say hi. It doesn't work like that. You need to be a safe space, or a safe place for your spouse. Offer a safe environment where they can express themselves. They can say what's bothering them without you judging them, without you backstabbing them, without you coming and lashing out at them. So that's your job as a spouse, is to offer a safe space for them to speak, and vice versa. Both of you offer a safe space for one another, and understand that whatever we're going through, we can resolve it. In summary, emotional intelligence in marriage is truly about being connected, being attuned with each other. All right. So as you use your awareness, you're able to build a stronger relationship. You're able to maintain the intimacy that you once had, and foster a deeper connection as individuals. So all those things are key. All right. All those things are key. So a lot of times what happens in marriage is that you may be experiencing some kind of tension. Don't let the tension linger for too long. So if you're a spouse that goes on for 1 week, 3 days, 4 days, you don't, even one day is too much. But if you're a spouse that gives your spouse the silence treatment, you need to stop. Whatever you do, don't give the silent treatment. During an argument, you can say, look, I need a break. I need to actually walk away. Like you're actually supposed to announce walking away. When I used to teach anger management, okay, I used to teach anger management. Um, what you do is whenever you need to take a break, like walk away, you have to announce it. Like, you know what? I have to walk away for now. We'll talk about this later. But most of us, we don't announce it because we feel, why should I go tell them? But you're supposed to announce your exit, because leaving abruptly is like rude. This is why people leave and they slam the door. So when there's tension, the way you avoid the tension, the way you avoid it from escalating, prevent it from escalating, is by you nipping it in the bud, like stopping it now, like finding a way to resolve the issue. So don't let the sun go down on your anger. Don't go to sleep angry. Talk about it. Come, let us reason together. God is calling you to come in and reason. So when there's a conflict with someone, you always have to resolve the conflict internally. You may be going through conflict internally, always. Resolve that conflict and then resolve the conflict with the other. Because you might think, oh, my spouse did this, da 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 da. But what is the conflict you're experiencing internally? What are you experiencing internally? Fix what you're feeling, fix what you're thinking, fix what's inside of you before you go to the other spouse and try to resolve it. Because I bet you, if you check yourself, when you get to the spouse, when they're talking, you're not going to listen to answer. Most of us, most of us, listen to answer. Okay. We listen to just want to respond. We don't really think it through. We think, oh, you said this, you did this, and that's it. We don't really think about, okay, my spouse is feeling some type of way. I wonder why they feel some type of way. Let me go talk to them. We automatically take it personal. The place where you're mad because somebody else is mad, that's that place. You don't need to go to that place. So when your spouse is upset, don't get upset. Try to figure out what could have happened. Talk to them. A lot of times when you talk to them, they won't respond. They will ignore you. Love covers a multitude of sin. When you are nice to someone, the Bible says that when you forgive, when you show kindness to someone who has done something against you, it's like putting a heap of fire, a coal of fire on their head. So what happens? You burn the person. When you're nice to people that are mean to you, you burn them. You burn them. Can you imagine being nice to somebody who's rude? I remember I was in session one time and the client practically cussed me out without using the F word. She just cussed me out. And I listened to her. And then guess what the question she had later? Her question was, how do you react when someone is mean to you and rude to you? And I looked at her, I said, did you see how I reacted when you were? That's how I react. I said, did you see how I reacted? That's exactly what you do. When people are mean, when people are rude, when people say things to you, you just watch them. And then you let them know, everything you said, you didn't have to say that. You could have told me how you felt. Because a lot of times it's how they feel. It has nothing to do with you, it's how they feel. So when you show love to somebody who's been mean, and so this girl, I'm sure to this day, she will never forget me like I will never forget her. Because I showed her empathy. I showed her love when she didn't deserve it. When you give love to people who don't deserve it, they appreciate it. And guess what you do? You win a soul. You win a soul. There are lots of things we can teach the people of God. You can teach people that don't know God without having to tell them verbatim. Your character can teach. Your character can preach. That is why your character counts. Character matters. And character matters because, let me tell you something. If they came to ask your spouse before they gave your spouse promotion, a lot of spouses will not get promotions because your spouse knows you best. When they're talking about character, your spouse knows you best. Your spouse is the mirror. Your spouse is the mirror. And the way your spouse knows you, nobody else will be able to know you like that except God. So lots of times when your spouse brings a grievance against you, don't dismiss the grievance. I guarantee you, unless they're the nagging, weird kind of spouse, if they're just typical normal spouses, when they bring a grievance against you, listen to them. Because what that spouse tells you can save you. They can save you. There are people that embarrass themselves in public because maybe the spouse told them in private, this thing you do, you need to stop. The way you manage your anger, you need to watch your anger. And they ignored it. So now they get in public and they go embarrass themselves. I guarantee you, your spouse always warns you. Your spouse is there to help you. That is why it's not just women that are helpers to men. Men are also helpers. We're supposed to be helpers to one another. Helpers to one another. Your spouse is supposed to bring the best side of you. So when your spouse does something that's not good, you are the best person to say, hey, spouse, don't do it. So you have to listen to your spouse. You have to listen to your spouse. The place where you don't want to listen is the place of pride. And you know what? Pride is so subtle that a lot of people are walking around prideful. They don't even know they're prideful. The concept of you can't tell me what to do is pride. None of us is without rebuke. Or none of us is without sin, like the Bible says it. So all of us have some things about us. We have flaws. That's the word I'm looking for, not sin. But we have flaws. And the flaws that you have, nobody else will see your flaws like your spouse. So when you're dealing with your spouse and they bring up a matter, listen. Listen. Take weekly times. Weekly dates are great if you can continue to have dates after you're married. It's so necessary. Because imagine this, you go on, you're living, you're working, you're going, you're coming, the children, you don't have time for yourself. So you need some kind of time to be able to sit with your spouse and say, hey, how was the week going? How are you feeling? What are you experiencing? How was work? Let them share with you the conflicts that they're experiencing. I've had internal battles all week, personal battles all week. But one of the days, my husband just randomly started talking about something. And it gave me the space to also talk about what I was feeling. And I felt so much better. I felt so much better because I needed to express what I was feeling. It was kept inside and it was killing me. And it had nothing to do with him, but it's the fact that he started talking and it allowed me to speak and say, hey, something is bothering me. And it wasn't something that he did. However, I needed someone to talk to about the thing. Does that make sense? I needed someone to talk to. So I was glad that he was that listening ear. So let me address this question quickly. How do you resolve conflict within an organization? Within an organization, one of the crucial things to do when there's conflict is to make sure the people are heard. Make sure people are heard. Anytime you're in a place of conflict resolution, you're called as a mediator. Mediator. That means person A and person B are fighting. You're the one in between. You may be a leader. You could be the pastor. You could be the leader of the organization. You could be the supervisor at work, right? So whenever you are in a place of mediation, you must mediate. How do you mediate? When you're mediating, you cannot pick sides. When you're mediating, you cannot do it. You cannot pick sides. You have to maintain a neutral posture. Even if you know that one person is clearly wrong, you need to maintain a neutral posture and some way, somehow show the other person that what you're saying goes against the policy. What you're saying goes against the tenets we believe in, what you're going against. So you have to find a way to show the person within an organization there are SOPs, there are standard operating procedures. So you look at the procedure and say, well, you didn't do it like that. There's acceptable use policies. So there are things that are acceptable within whatever organization you're in, whether it's a church, whether it's a, it's a business, whether it's a just an organization, a nonprofit, whatever. There are things that are acceptable uses. So you have to step up and say, based on the policy, like in the work environment, there is no sexual harassment at work. So when you mediate, you don't come in like, oh, maybe they didn't mean what they said. No, at work, sexual harassment is not allowed. You guys did a training, and within the training, it talks about how you cannot come and touch the shoulder of another. Someone of the opposite sex, don't touch their shoulder. Don't flirt with them. If you flirt with somebody, that's sexual harassment. And a lot of people don't know that. And within the work environment, there's a lot of flirtation and all these things, but that is harassment. Do you understand that? So when you step in the middle as a mediator, you don't pick sides, you stay neutral, you speak facts, you relate what needs to be related, but allow both individuals to express themselves. Don't go in saying, oh, it doesn't matter, it's okay, you have to work together. No, you go in first, allowing them to speak their mind. Allow them to speak. Offer that space and ensure them that you will not retaliate against them. A lot of times you bring up a matter, whether within a church or whether within an organization, and they dismiss what you say. What you said is easily dismissed. What you said is ignored. What you say is made irrelevant. Or there is some kind of gaslighting happening when you express, oh, maybe what happened wasn't really what was going on. Like, you're minimized, like what you said doesn't even matter. You have to be careful that you don't dismiss what is said. Don't dismiss what is said. Don't dismiss what is said. Whatever you hear, whatever you're told, it's very important to listen to it and hear the other side and meet with them. It's good to meet with both individuals and let them talk while they're there and try to find a common ground. That is how you resolve conflict. When your children come and they say, Mommy, she hit me. Mommy, don't just start yelling at the other child. Okay, she hit you. What happened? What did she do? Okay, you didn't listen to her. You hit her too. Oh, okay. We don't hit, okay? We don't hit. We don't yell at the other one. We don't tell the other one, good, yeah, come and report. No, you tell the children, look. And in my family, there was a lot of conflict in my family. I shared it yesterday, a lot of conflict. But we didn't have the people to be able to, my parents they couldn't resolve the conflicts to this day. Those conflicts were not resolved. And some people are still wounded from the way the conflict was resolved. Because it's not enough to say, it's okay, just let it go. It's not enough. Let the person say what's wrong with them, what they're feeling. Allow them. Let it be safe enough for them to say. So don't just say, oh, you're older, why are you doing this? No, we don't do that. Allow the people a place to vent, to say what they have to say, and then resolve it by finding a common ground. Sometimes people have to go to the extent of apologizing to each other because they said something they were not supposed to say. If they said something that they're not supposed to say by the standard, let them apologize. Let them open up and say it won't happen again. Let them make a commitment to do better. All right. But whatever they do, allow trust to be there. Flirting is sexual harassment. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Had we known, had a lot of people known that flirting is sexual harassment, they would have done the right thing. Many have lost their jobs because they didn't know. They didn't know. So these are some tips you must learn. Alrighty. Any questions? I believe we're done. So we have wrapped up conflict resolution. We talked about forgiveness. We talked about finding your triggers and using your triggers to know how to manage your emotions. Today we talked about emotional intelligence. Please go back and read or listen to the entire series. This is the whole series I came and delivered. So go back, listen to the entire series, and make sure that you are ready for what's next. you are ready for next week. So next week we're gonna come and talk about finances. Finances. Conflict has no place in marriage. Tension has no place in marriage. You must be after the fruits of the Spirit. Please go and read Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. Go and read about the fruit of the Spirit, the nine fruit of the Spirit. We say fruit because it comes out with something. People will look at you and say, so by these shall men know you are my disciple. He was talking about love. When you offer love, listen, you give love no matter what. Do not be tired in well doing, for in due time, when you're nice to your spouse, you're doing well. The kindness is doing well. Don't be tired of I'm always the bigger person. I'm always the bigger person. No, don't be tired in it. Okay. We have a lot of things coming down the pipeline. Please subscribe to this channel, follow this channel. We are going to, oh, I have a gift for you. I have a gift for you. There is a free download of how to identify your triggers. I'm going to bring it and attach it to um, probably this file. So please, it's a free gift. Make sure that you download it for free. All right. I'm going to bring this mini ebook that you can use to identify your triggers and really help you through the process. If you didn't watch the full broadcast, go ahead and watch it, and I'll make sure that you get it. You can send us a message, DM us if you don't see the link, but there's going to be a free link and you're going to be able to download that ebook. All right. All right, guys. Have an amazing day. Happy Friday. I'm excited for the weekend. I'm going to be doing a lot of work on Coach Yeboah. And next week, we're going to come and talk about finances. Finances. I hope you are ready. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.